the Arts Build YouTube page. So welcome everybody, TGIF, and welcome to October. It's October 1st. Today, this is our last virtual webinar workshop for shared services. For the year. So we're going to regroup and re-strategize, and we'll be back better than ever soon. So stay tuned for that. Thank goodness most of you are on our email communication list. If not, make sure you go to the ArtsBuild webpage or ArtsBuild homepage. And if you scroll down to the bottom, there's a place where you can enter your email address so that you can keep up with all of our communication, especially when our next Holmberg Arts Leadership Institute starts recruiting. And we are still, we've still got some spaces left for our Tech Goes Home for the Arts program, which starts next week. And I see I've got some graduates of that program. Welcome, Sam. So Sam was in our last adult version. We do a high school version in the summertime. So, but this next class, we're going to meet every day next week. So October 4th through the 8th from 5:30 to 8:30 in the evening. We've got some speakers coming in, lots of professional development, as well as guides to how to use G Suite on your brand new Google Chromebook. And then at the end of it, you'll walk away from the class with not only your Chromebook and some extensive training, but either a refreshed or a brand new professional art portfolio that you can share online. So thanks for letting me share all that, Colleen. So I won't take up any more of your time. So Colleen, if you want to jump in here, I know you want to talk to us about digital communication strategy. So I will let you have the floor.
Cool. Yeah, so I'll get into what we're talking about later, but like Amy said, somehow today is October. I don't know how we got here. I'm a little flabbergasted, but I'm glad to be here today with you on Friday. Thank you for being in this room with me. I know it's Friday. I took a half day off my normal job because, just need some space. But yeah, today's the final webinar from me about social media for the shared services program that ArtsBuild did. And if you haven't had a chance to attend any of my webinars previously or only a few, like Amy said, they're all up on the ArtsBuild YouTube page. And again, if we have not met, Colleen Miller, lots of experience serving in a lot of digital and more public communication roles. I've managed digital communications and, traditional public relations for officials of elected office, like Mayor Burke, previous mayor of city. A lot of work with the Chattanooga Public Works Department. And then I've left that position and helped serve a lot of different nonprofit organizations, government, nonprofit, like I've said, and other private businesses. So it's weird conglomerate of all different types of organizations doing a lot of different things. So I'm happy to have shared whatever knowledge I have with the group that joins me, used to join me every month, and with you all today. This is basically, we spent the year sort of talking about all different kinds of topics. And today I thought it was really important to just end with all of the things in a very sort of crunched, congested webinar. And so if I talk fast, just tell me. But I definitely there's a lot of new faces, at least on here today from previous webinars. So I think it's going to be a really great one. And apparently there's 14 people on here, which I don't know if that's my biggest attended webinar thus far, but I'm really thankful that you're all here today.
It's close to it. It's close to it.
Yeah. And on a Friday, that's awesome. I'm just a little flabbergasted. I'll get over that in here in a second. So today we're going to talk, like I said, about sort of an overview of my recommendations for putting together a communication strategy or, refreshing your communication strategy. That's one of the first ones I did, was hit refresh on your digital presence. but this really encompasses a lot of the singular webinars that I have done in the past. Okay. So first thing to do is to take inventory of what you have. If you've been making it up as you go along, you had a strategy once, it's slowly dwindled, or you're just starting out, take inventory of what's already on your list of digital platforms that you're maintaining. Do you have a website? Do you have a Google My Business? Are you working for a nonprofit in Chattanooga, and sometime in the past someone decided that they wanted to create a Pinterest? There's a random Twitter around in the universe. Like, try and do some searching on yourself in order to see what exists, because you may not be the first person that thought, hey, I need to put on some platforms so that I'm like engaging in this new digital world. So yeah, take some time and do some research on yourself or on the organization or business you're working for, and just take inventory. Taking stock is going to help you in your organization, put together a more solid plan and make your efforts a little bit more direct. So like, if someone is wasting time posting on Twitter, you'll hear from me later. I don't necessarily think Twitter's the place. Or if there's a Pinterest, roaming around that's old, but it's actually an effective tool and platform for you in your business or your organization, just, take inventory, write it all down. So that's like not just your website, Google My Business. Did someone at some point create a MailChimp? Are you, are you using them? Are they just, especially on Facebook? Sorry, I'm having a thought. On Facebook, sometimes there's like these businesses that get randomly created by people checking into like a location. So make sure that's like none of those exist that aren't you, and like people can still post to them. So just do a little bit of search on yourself. It's worth the time and effort to start that way. And also take inventory and think about like, what are you currently using as far as posting to social media? Have you used paid advertising? Are you regularly posting? Are you using that email marketing system like a MailChimp to send newsletters? What are you doing currently? Because that really leads into this next piece about doing metrics on yourself. So metrics will help you determine whether or not like a platform you're using is actually effective, even if you're only posting to it a little bit. And then, like I said, do you have too many platforms? Are they working? Metrics can help you determine, just where to put your time and effort. So do some research on yourself. Even if you're not starting out, you have been doing social media. If you have all the things, if you have a Twitter, if you have a Facebook, an Instagram, and a Pinterest, and all of these things, like, are you too spread out? Are your metrics not looking good on all of them? And so maybe think twice about changing that up and focusing only on 2, which is what I'll recommend here in a little bit, as far as social media platforms. So just knowing all of this information up front before you make any changes is helpful. The next thing I always talk about is branding. If you've attended these webinars, you'll know that the colors and the fonts and the things that I use are all the same. I don't do that necessarily, and I don't recommend it because I think it's like the super cool thing. I recommend it because once you create a color palette, your preferred fonts, the logos that you're going to use on different items, and making sure that you have logos you can use on different items, like a white one, a black one, your colored one, whatever it is. As well as like agreeing on a mission, vision, value statement. I know that's like a big deal and takes a lot of time, but those things established at the front of any sort of digital communication strategy just makes it so much easier. It takes the thinking out of all of it. So when I'm building these webinars, I know I'm not like, it's hard not to get distracted by the things in Canva and all the like different cool things, but when you just have an agreed upon set of colors and fonts and things like that, and the different messaging that you use, the different language that you use, It just makes things go so much faster and so much easier. And it also, in the back end to the public, makes everything look just clean and the same brand, the same voice, the same, just all the things look like they were meant to be, and they're all in this same sort of, like when you see Artsbuild's stuff, even without Artsbuild's name on it, like, you know, it's Artsbuild, things like that. Like when you see the Nike or the Adidas 3 things, you know what it is. It's because they use it all the time. They use the same font. And when they rebrand, they'll tell you they're rebranding. So, you know, but like, yeah, choose your colors, choose your fonts, and use them. It's just so much easier. And try not to get too distracted by Canva. And if you want to add slow, like new elements in, do it slowly, unless you're like saying, "Hey, we're rebranding and relaunching." Um, but yeah, so now we're going to talk a few minutes about the different and the common sort of tactics that I spend a lot of time in each webinar deep diving into. But obviously, if you're a business and an organization, you should have a website. Your business website's the anchor of your online presence. It's the place that you should try to send people back to get information, more information than what social media allows you to do in a single post. There's plenty of options for every budget. There's free ones. There's other things like a little bit of money. There's Wix. There's WordPress, Squarespace, which is my favorite. But yeah, and obviously making a website comes after all of those steps. In my mind, these are all sort of chronological, how I'm talking about them today. Understanding your type of content, branding, and then building things. Obviously, if you're like redoing stuff, you're a little bit out of order, but yeah, the website is just, it's the place it needs to be. It needs to be, optimized for your screen. So not anything that's insane, like amounts of content everywhere, very clean, very tidy. You need to make sure all the links and images work and load on all computers and all different types of screens. That's what that screen optimization means. Everyone knows mobile friendly. But also, like, there's a difference between me opening a website on my laptop versus like a desktop computer with a giant screen. Things just look different. So it's really important to not only build a clean website and have great content on it, but like making sure that everyone can access it and everyone can see everything on there in the appropriate way that you meant them to. So that's why I really like condensing websites. I've had a lot of clients that have websites with a crazy amount of information and like different, like bars, and they have the right header and the top header and the bottom header all full of stuff. That's not necessary. Like, you just need to tell them what they need to know. And the more you add the stuff, like the worse it looks on your phone and it's harder to navigate. So just constantly thinking about, is this like a necessary place for me to put this content? Or if it is necessary, put it somewhere where scrolling makes it like a little bit easier. Obviously, like there's a ton of people, web designers, super smart people that can help you with like the back end SEO and putting keywords and things like that. And it is worthwhile, but I'm not going to get too much into that today, because if you don't have a good front, like, it doesn't really matter what the back is, because Google and the different search engines don't, while the keywords work, if the keywords bring me to a website that looks confusing and doesn't have great content and isn't updated all the time with a little bit of fresh content every now and then, you just get lower in Google's like algorithm of how you come up when someone searches artist in Chattanooga, right? So it's important to think of the smaller pieces, which are making sure links work and making sure you have it optimized for the screen, and publishing new content, which is easy. Hopefully, we'll talk about content and different types of content. But like, once you create content for your website, it should be transferable to all of your other digital platforms. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Also, there should be another box on here, which is quite silly that it isn't on there. But if you have social media, they should be linked on your website. And there should be like some sort of a feed happening so that people know you post regularly. I apologize. That really should be a big old box right there. Link your social media. That would be very silly to have a website and social media and they're not connected and talking to each other. The next one people tend to forget. It's sort of like those weird Facebook pages that come up when people check into your spot, or usually it happens to restaurants where a random Facebook page gets created. But the Google My Business listing, like if we're just being human, everyone goes to Google. I go to Google Maps when I'm traveling or even in Chattanooga and type in dinner, type in restaurant, type in event, or even type in the Chattanooga Theater Center where I want to go to put in directions to get there. If you haven't claimed your Google My Business listing, if that's an appropriate thing for you, you really should claim the listing, add photos as appropriate, or else it'll be a feed of photos that other people have taken, which is fine, but you definitely want your own photos on there. And yeah, create a quick link to reviews and hook that up places. And one thing we talk about, we've talked about it a few times, is like whether or not to reply to comments, reply to reviews. You should. It's difficult, especially if it's a difficult or poor review. Doing that sort of just always makes it look like there's a human behind the digital platform, whatever it is. And it's just always good to do that. Um, and then this past year, they added like a COVID-19 update if you require masks or etc. Whatever the hours, if you're having um, store closings or restaurant closings for a couple hours, like there's a specific COVID-19 update to do at this point in time. But yeah, Google My Business is often a thing that people forget. Claim it, and it just like if you're active to it, which really doesn't take much, it just claim it, add a few photos at the start, and whenever there's reviews, reply to them. But it really hikes up your business and organization like on Google's algorithm, not only just like in maps when someone searches something, but also on the actual like google.com on a computer or your phone. So it's a really worthwhile thing to do. Also, it's free. So like they're all free, but it's just smart. It's a super smart and powerful tool to do that. Okay, now we're going to talk about the social media platforms. This slide is just like an obvious sort of data thing to be like, you can't ignore it. It exists and everybody uses it, even if we don't want to, which is really funny. I don't like using it, but I get paid to use it. I don't like to use it personally because it takes some space from it, but you cannot ignore the fact that people are on there, people are searching, people are trying to figure out what to do, who to support, especially now, like we've spent a year of being inside and now people are slowly making their way outside. Let them know that you're open if you are and what you're up to. Don't ignore social media. I don't think anyone on here is trying to ignore social media since you're on this webinar today, but yeah. Okay, so Facebook is my number 1.5, I don't know, 1 point plus another recommendation of social media to use. These are all the things that you should use. Complete the about section, make sure it's nice and full. Everything's correct. If there's hours, if there's links to your website, if there's links to a specific event page that you want people to visit, all the things. Just make sure it's nice and full and all of the sections are filled out because it makes it look like you care and you want people to know what's going on. We've talked a little bit in the past about using those front page graphics. I personally feel like the little circle should always be a logo and it should just always be a logo. But that top header piece on a Facebook page is like prime real estate because even if someone gets served your page through someone else and they come and visit it and they're like distracted because we all have 0.2 seconds or some crazy number of an attention span on social media. They'll see that first, they'll see your logo and they'll see that first piece on the top of your Facebook page, even on phones. And so if you have an event coming up, if you have something you need them to know, like you're running a fundraiser and how to get to it, use that front page graphic in a very tasteful way. Like, I know it's just super easy to throw a picture up there, but use it to promote the thing you need people to know about then in that moment, and change it often. Obviously, you don't want to leave like an old event hanging out up there. But even if someone goes to your page and that attention span hits in and they leave, their brain is going to remember, oh, that's Arts Build, and they have this thing coming up that I want to remember. Even if they don't remember what it is, I saw this thing, I'm going to remember to go back there. So use that front page graphic, the top header thing, like just as prime real estate. It's free, super free advertising for people that come to your page. A post minimum for Facebook, everyone has their own, there's all this research and you can try and follow it, but I say 10 times a week. And so that could be multiple times in a day if you have like a big event you're trying to push. It could be one time every day with a little bit sprinkled in. Just pick a number and be consistent with it, right? So if it's 5 times a week, it's like once a day. Just be consistent and do that all the time, because Facebook's algorithm does not like people who don't post often or in a consistent manner. I've recently learned this. I haven't posted to my own personal Facebook page in quite a while, probably like 2 years. And I recently made a post, and it wasn't until someone else who posts like a lot commented on it that it finally got served to like my universe of people. So post often and make it consistent. And then we can talk about content a little bit later, but just mix up your content. Make sure you reply to comments. That is such a big thing. It just makes it look human. It's so easy to not make social media feel human because it's social media and it's digital. But if you reply as the business and like address someone's concerns or even answer a question that's like, when is this happening? You've already helped one person, but you've also like, again, with like the Facebook algorithms, the more you do that, the more it gets served because you're showing that you're engaging and this, that, and the other. So just reply to comments, even negative ones. And if they're negative and it continues to be negative, take it offline. That's something I used to do at Public Works when people were really mad about their trash not being picked up, or whatever it was, a pothole. I would always reply in the thread so that it was publicly seen that I offered an opportunity to chat. But then I would take their name and move them into private messaging and reply to their message there. It like just changes the mindset, and they know now that they're actually talking to a person, and so they're more willing to take it off the public sort of view and into the message. But you have to be sort of quick to do that, right? You respond in a quick manner, and that usually works. And you usually find, like, I would say 8 times out of 10 we came to a conclusion, and then I got like a nice post about it on their own page. It was like, I brought this to their attention, and then they addressed it, and it was cool, which is always good, just for you and your business. Paid advertising is the other thing on Facebook. We talked about this a little while ago on a whole webinar, but my main piece of advice for that is if you're gonna dedicate any funds in there, we're all sort of struggling with cash, and if you have a little bit, use it to just promote likes on your page instead of boosting posts or anything like that. If you just run a paid advertising campaign that promotes people to like your page, you're just going to get more bang for your buck at the start of it. even a 10 or 12, $15 buy on something like that can just help every now and then. I used to, for multiple clients, like twice or three times a year, once a quarter, uh, some consistent basis, just run like a quick paid advertising to promote the page and get likes, because it's, you just create longer followers and more likes that way on your page than if you were to spend money boosting a specific post. Unless it's like, an event that you need so many tickets bought for in order for it to happen kind of deal, then like that's a whole different scenario. I'd say boost those posts or boost that event on Facebook, if it's absolutely like necessary for you to sell those. So that's Facebook. That's my number one recommendation. But Instagram is also my number one recommendation, unless you don't have pictures or video content or someone to create very like pretty, concise graphics. Not pretty. Pretty is not the word. Just organized graphics for you. Because obviously Instagram is very image based. But if you are like, the individual on my screen painting this lovely painting during this webinar, I think that you should probably have an Instagram. Yeah. So it's the second best place. It's also because Facebook and Instagram are the same they're the same business. So when you buy like a paid advertising thing on Facebook, it'll go to Instagram if you want it to, and it's worthwhile to go to, because I don't believe that you pay any more and for it to be served randomly on Instagram. But yeah, make a business profile, complete all the sections. They're very minimal on Instagram. Post often, post minimum. It's just really hard. I hate to tell people to do this minimum. I think you should pick a number and be consistent with it always. So Instagram, if it's 5 times a week, if it's 10 times a week, if it's however much it is, as long as it's more than like 2 a week or 3 a week, I think you're good. If you're 5 and over, I like that's fantastic. It's just about staying consistent so that your posts get served. Again, reply to comments and use those paid advertising functions on Facebook and have them carry over to link or to Instagram. I don't really think I have any more to say about Instagram. So other platforms, LinkedIn is really just straight up for business, or if you're marketing yourself to get new business, if you're like a comms person like me and doing that. It's not for everyone. It's very specialized. YouTube, same thing. If you're not creating video content, like there's really no purpose for you to be on YouTube or even hold a YouTube like account that's empty, unless I guess in the future you just want to save the name for future uses if you think you're going to do video. But like ArtsBuild obviously has a YouTube page because they're putting on events like this and they post it to it. So it's active and used. The other like social media platforms I'm just not here for are Twitter, unless you're like a news outlet. I just think it's silly. Pinterest, unless you're like posting to Instagram a bajillion times a day, you should probably get a Pinterest at that point. Snapchat and TikTok, very specialized, very active. If you're a business and you're trying to, remain consistent with a few platforms and not spread yourself too thin, I do not recommend them. Personally, they're fun, but like unless you can post 5 times a day on those four over on the right, like it's a waste of time for a business, especially a small business that's already everyone's doing 4 jobs or whatever it is. So I don't recommend them. I do recommend email marketing, especially if you're doing events or you're pushing out information. ArtsBuild's, email marketing stuff is great. Amy does a great job sending all of those emails full of information they've got a lot going on, right? So it's necessary to put it all in one place so people know.
Constant
That
contact is helpful, but clunky.
constant, we've talked about the different platforms. I enjoy MailChimp. Constant Contact's great too. I think they're both free up until like a point of how many subscribers you have. And I know MailChimp is like 1,000. So you have some space to grow there and then possibly pay for it. And I think that if you get to the point where you have to pay for an email marketing system, you're doing pretty okay with your business. So there is an email minimum there. I would say if it's like you have an event coming up, obviously send one. If you have multiple events like ArtsBuild does, I know Amy's on sort of like a schedule of on this day, share it. Again, pick something that works for you and something you can remain consistent on. That's just a general rule of thumb for all social media and digital communications platform. And obviously the branding is throughout this whole thing. Oh, 2 free email services. Constant Contact, and I'm going to answer this middle of the webinar, and MailChimp. Boom. One thing we haven't talked about with email marketing is it can get clunky. Again, it's like a website, right? When you open it, especially on your phone, it looks very different than the way it looks if you open it on a computer. Make sure it's nice and clean, easy to scroll through. Even if, it's super long, which sometimes ArtsBuild's emails are long, but they have so much information. Just make it clean and concise and easy to scroll through. And they are. When I open them on my phone, it's just like I keep going, tons of information. It's all very organized with the headlines, so you know exactly like, oh, I don't think this one's for me. I'm gonna scroll past it and get to the next one. And like if you know you're looking for what shared services are coming up, you just go through and get there. It's organized, clean, easy to read. Yeah, great job, Amy. Use you as your example. Okay, where am I? Oh yeah. So now that we've gone through sort of like a high level look at the different platforms and tactics, think about refreshing your organization or business digital inventory. Do you have things that don't need to exist anymore? Can you delete them? It's like kind of a nice thing to be like, I don't need this Twitter anymore. I'm going to delete it. You don't have to mentally think about creating content for it anymore. And what are some of the new things that you can add to your repertoire of social media? Can you do some more newsletters and some more social posts? Could you add, if you take away, we're trying to do TikTok and you were trying to do Twitter, can you move those efforts to Facebook and Instagram, more full content strategy? So yeah, the next thing I do want to talk about, oh wait, I'll say this, be patient, especially if you don't have the funds to pay to keep like bumping those up in people's feeds. Things will work out. Like if you're consistent and you're posting regularly and you're doing, every now and then, I recommend like once a quarter, once 3 times a year with the paid advertising, having people like your page. You're going to grow. Organic happens. We don't all have funds to be like huge successes overnight and have all the followers, but what's really important is building that sort of organic base, because those are the people that actually want to hear from you and actually want to engage. And if they're active on their social media pages too, like on Facebook, they're going to start sharing your stuff because they've connected with you, they've connected with your organization in some way. If they've attended like one event, they might be lifelong supporters. So there's just so much benefits to just being patient and letting it grow organically, because you get the kind of people that you want on your team, sharing your content, attending your events and things like that, and supporting your business.
Hey, Colleen. Looks like Miss Allie had made a comment during her live painting. She said that she uses a ConvertKit, but it's paid. So, Allie, do you want to mention something about that?
Like, how expensive is it?
Sure, I can. I think I'm not sure if the payment I had to pay went up after I hit 1,000. I think it was very minimal before that, and now I think I'm paying. Gosh, I don't even remember, but ConvertKit specializes in people who do like online classes, which is what I do. But it's really neat how you can set up sequences that get set off by actions that people take. Yeah. So if somebody clicks a button or registers for one of my classes, they get a sequence of maybe 5 emails based on their actions. So you can really customize it, which is awesome.
That is awesome. That is awesome. That's a lot of work up front for you, but that's really cool.
Yeah, but then it's all set up. So yeah. I have like an email that goes out every other Tuesday. It's my painting tip Tuesday. And so I just have those all stored in there. And then when people sign up through a newsletter form, then they start getting that sequence.
That's really cool. Do you share like when you try to get people to sign up for your email listserv, do you do like a Facebook post or do you do an Instagram post to try to get them there? Or do you collect emails some other way to add new people?
So I have a post pinned to the top of my Facebook page that is for like my most popular downloads. So through ConvertKit, you can set up where if somebody wants to get an interesting PDF or something that they would find beneficial, then they fill out a form and then they automatically get an email that delivers that. So for me, it's my 10 tips to painting loose. So that's at the top of my Facebook page. And that's the one that gets me the most traffic. But once they enroll to get that, then they start going down that sequence of emails.
Cool. Well, oh my goodness. First of all, thanks for the value add to today's webinar, because that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. It's really amazing that that's worked out that way. That's so smart. That's super smart.
No problem.
I'm very impressed. I love it. ConvertKit. That's cool.
Thanks, Miss Allie.
Yeah. So yeah, be patient. Things like this are so great, Amy. I like just the sharing of information always makes my heart so happy because I don't know everything. I don't pretend to know everything. Thank you for chiming in. Some webinars have been super quiet and I really enjoy when people share information because we all have something to learn from each other. No one is the be all end all knowledge person. So okay, so I'm going to talk about content because content is really like, it's just so important. You know, website content, all of it, like everyone, if you think of it in multiple different buckets, stop thinking of it that way. When you create something for your website, it can translate to a newsletter. It can translate to social media content. So once you think of something to put up, put it everywhere if it's that kind of an appropriate piece of content. The thing to remember, and I just said this, but your followers are your followers because they're interested in what you're planning, what you're working on. They want to join your conversation. So give them content that does that. Yeah. I remember I created this, I created a whole content is all around you webinar after a conversation with Amy and James as like a middle of the road check-in with them. And I made a joke that like people think content is so hard because it is daunting. It's daunting to think like, I've got to put how many posts up a week? 10 posts a week? That's a lot of work and a lot of content to create. But if you think about it, Instagram influencers post pictures of their breakfast and tag where they ate it. And that's content. So like, stop overthinking it. There are people that do that for a living. So like, you know, right now, if Allie had someone in her studio with her who could take a picture of her doing this, that's today's piece of content. Today, I did this. And then she can say, if you're interested in making something like this on your own, go to this link. And then she starts that whole conversion of people get her emails, they get, you know, and then possibly sign up for 2-3 classes that convert into your income. So like, don't think too hard about it. If you're doing something that is, oh, that's very nice. Amy put in the link to the content is all around you. It is my favorite. And there's a very embarrassing video at the end of it of me, which I think everyone will enjoy, of me singing horribly to content. So that one is definitely worth a watch. If I were to recommend one of any, that is the one, because content is king. It's the thing that gets you put up on Google. It's the thing that Facebook's like, oh, they're putting up cool content and people are engaging with it. I'm going to make their post the highest in the feed, whatever, however their algorithm works. Every day it changes, but new content is a thing. So don't think too hard about it. If you're doing something at your business that is related to your business, like painting a painting, have someone take a picture of it and make that today's post and use it as a way to create those conversions to someone getting on your email listserv or then eventually signing up for an event. Obviously, the two different platforms we talked about earlier are different types of content. Facebook is like almost everything. Be sure to use like the Facebook features. I don't think polls exist anymore, but I really like them. You can take your own kind of poll using comments. Use those event pages. Oh my goodness. When you have events, make an event page, link to it, link that back to something on your website. Just use all the features on Facebook that you can. Instagram is, and Facebook, as I said, the contents are all types of content are welcome. Instagram is obviously very photo, infographic, video heavy. It should be very clean and easy to read. There's like a whole world if you want to dive into what your thing looks like when you go to your profile. And remember that there's link limitations on Instagram, which is why I recommend Facebook, or you can sign up for those link tree things for to use in your bio where they can click a link and a page will pop up and ask you, what were you trying to get to? And that's another way to use the link features to your advantage on Instagram. Again, branding, make it visually appealing. And my 100% pet peeve is when something is spelled wrong. We all make mistakes, but thankfully, Instagram and Facebook both have like a go back and edit feature. Twitter doesn't, which is very horrible, but just make sure you proofread and things make sense. And you know, if you're copying and pasting from something, make sure it's copy and pasted right before you press go. And even if it is up there for a minute, not a minute, but even if it's up there for a little while and there's a mistake, just go back and edit it. That's why Facebook and Instagram are my favorite, because you can go back and edit whenever you need to. Okay, this is a kind of congested thing because I stole it from a whole webinar where we talked about content, that whole thing that's in the link in the chat. Different types of content that you should take advantage of, and it'll help build a more full, engaged digital communication strategy on social media. There's all kinds of holidays to engage in, fun holidays like the social media type holidays, National Pizza Day, National Dog Day, Employee Appreciation Day. I'm all about the team. Talk about them, share about them if they want. Obviously, ask them first. Yeah, engaging in those is kind of like cheap content, but everyone else is doing it too. So you might as well take your staff to pizza lunch on National Pizza Day. And knowing those sort of like social media type holidays and the generic Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July, Black History Month, Women's History Month, those are all opportunities for you to highlight your staff, someone you work with, someone in the community you work with. It's just easy created content in a calendar of content to help fill those gaps, but also engage in like a larger conversation that's happening. The daily hashtags like Monday motivation, Tuesday tips, Throwback Thursdays. These are all opportunities to be a little bit specific, but also reshare content that you think is appropriate and people need to know about. So, for example, off the top of my head, Arts Builds, I think you're still selling those t-shirts to do some fundraising next year. Are you still
Yes,
selling?
we are. Yeah, so for a $60 donation through the Arts Build fundraising portal, and I'll post that link here, you get a t-shirt and you get to be one of our 100 new donors for the year. So I'll post the link here in just a second.
Shameless plug on there, but I like it. And that leads me to my piece of content that I was saying for next year. When you do another fundraiser, you can say TBT to when we raised this many funds, let's try to beat this. And you have content that's like already existing and created. Don't forego those things because it's really important. Remind people of what you've done in the past and that you've been around for a while. So Monday motivations, Tuesday tips, throwback Thursdays. There's a bunch of them. I don't enjoy all of them, but there's a few like those three feel correct. And there might be another that's a little bit more appropriate for the type of business that you're doing. But like the Chattanooga Theater Center was on here for a couple of the webinars. You should Throwback Thursday to a play that they put on that was fantastic in order to promote a new play, or we brought it back this year and because it was such a success last year. Things like that. Topic related jokes and comics. I'm a big fan of making horrible puns and jokes on it because sometimes we just need a lighthearted situation. Contests and giveaways are great, especially if you have, like a free t-shirt. So maybe, I don't know if you've done this, Amy, but I'll make a suggestion that you give away a t-shirt or two to a person that agrees to share their like your post about it. The thing. It takes time though. I'm not gonna be shy about saying that because you have to pay attention to who's doing it. So if like it's too much, then don't do those things. But those are great sort of opportunities to boost your content to a new group because not everyone always shares posts on Facebook and Instagram because it takes that extra after 0.2 attention span to like do that. So getting someone to share stuff is awesome. So then there's like inspiration, quotes, personal stories of success, your staff, or just things like super easy quotes that are making you have the feels about your business. Educate people, write informative blog posts. We heard from Allie about some of the content she creates seems very like informative and educational sometimes. Tips and tricks. If you have an expertise, like you're a painter or you create music or you put on plays, talk to people about it. Talk to people about set design or whatever. I'm kind of on the theater train and art train, but there's all kinds of things. You are all experts in something, and that's why you have a position that you have. Tell people about it, or tell people about why your business is an expert in XYZ. There's like the engagement, which contests are kind of like an engagement, but fill in the blanks, take polls. What are you looking forward to this weekend? Caption this photo is super fun. People love to do that. It's great way. If you've captured something funny or something really beautiful, caption this photo is a good time. Connection, I really enjoyed in public works. I did a lot of introduction of our team members. That was fun, and behind the scenes sort of work, right? Because it's hard to run a business. It's hard to run an organization. Let people see behind the scenes. Let people get to know you. Let people who support you that don't work for you, but like attend your events and are really like, go-getters for your business, talk about you, highlight them, highlight the things they love about you so that other people can learn how to love you too. Yeah. And then finally is promotion. When you have events, when you have webinars, use that space to promote them. Like this shared services webinar, I'm pretty sure there was a post about it. When ArtsBuild has events, there's posts about those specific events. So there's so much content that you can do and take advantage of. I suggest, especially like the holidays and things, mapping it out. I use an Excel file, which is really funny, but to just keep track of things, holidays that are coming up so that you can pre-plan and pre-create. And that's where that branding comes in. If it doesn't change, something that you created a couple months ago can always get reused, right? So reuse your content, move it around to all of your things. If something can be made into a blog, like you did an employee feature, clearly in an Instagram post and a Facebook post, there's only so much content you should put. Write more, make it a blog post, put it in on your website, and then also in your next newsletter, if it's a monthly newsletter situation, put that in your newsletter and say, we highlighted this employee and this customer gave this testimonial. So once you create content, you should try to use it everywhere that you can. That's what this slide was. I was supposed to have this slide up, but it's fine. Okay, I am done talking and we have some minutes left. So if anyone has questions about like posting cadence or how long a post should include, or how long a post should be, what it should include, hashtags, links, etc. I'm happy to take any questions about anything.
Yeah, friends, don't be shy.
You can type them in the chat. I really do recommend that content is all around you workshop, even if you skip to the last 10 minutes and watch an embarrassing video. It's a good time.
Yeah, it's in the chat and it's also on our YouTube page.
Yeah. No questions. I've been so distracted by trying to read my notes to myself, but in such a lovely way. I love what's happening on the screen next to me with this painting.
Looks like, I bet that's James wants to know if you would share a template of your Excel sheet.
I can, for sure. Not right now, because I don't know where it is in my Google Drive. I'll search for it and then I can send it to Amy.
Yes.
Do you keep track of who is on what webinar?
Yeah, it's in the recording.
Okay. What are some opening lines on Facebook or Insta that help, like make a caption? Oh, that's a great question. What's the type of content we're talking about? Or are you looking for new kinds of content?
Cassie, feel free to unmute yourself. Paintings.
Yeah, so I do the marketing on Facebook and Instagram for Heart Gallery.
Okay.
And I always try to get people to click on visual art, or maybe it's a volunteer feature. But I found that if I like put it in all caps, like new,
Yeah.
it kind of gets attention. I get more clicks and likes on it.
Yeah.
Wondering if there are more examples of that kind of like open liner that gets people to click.
I'm having some thinking moments, but I'm thinking things like, hey, look, or, I think you were on the right page, but it's just about like, that's maybe make it specific to that painting. So like, I don't know if there's a specific color that's standing out to you, what's standing out, make a caption, featured artist, like, I'd have to see them. Heart Gallery. I was gonna look it up on you said you have an Instagram, right?
Yeah, we're on Instagram and Facebook. Heart
And
Gallery.
H-A-R-T, right?
H-A-R-T, yes.
Oh, I see it. Oh, I like it. New. Thank you, Joel. Okay.
I keep using the same one, so I'm trying to switch it up.
Yeah. I would focus on the color or the type of art. I'm not like a super knowledgeable human being about art, but there's plenty of people on this call that are. So like oil, like I would say, are these for sale? Like if
Yes.
people were interested?
Yes.
Yeah. You could focus on the size. You could focus on what's being used. Is it pen? Is it pencil? Is it oil-based painting? Focus on the colors or the artist's name. Yeah, I would focus on the elements of it. I like your ideas though. I like the new, I like the, I also really enjoy your descriptions when they're just like, just a description. I
Yeah.
don't think you always have to do that for sure.
Yeah, we
Like,
do biographies and stuff, but I'm thinking I'll include more of like the story behind the piece toward the
I like that. I definitely like that. Sometimes you start with the title of the piece if it has a title. I like that too. Again, don't think too much about it. Unless you really do feel like when you do something like that, it gets more likes. It may not be that though. It could also be, it may not be just that. It could also be like your posting cadence too, that's serving it to other people and who is liking it, right? I'm just gonna say this for everyone. When James McKissick likes a piece of your art, it tends to like blow up because James has so many followers. And he's, very active on social media. So it could be that. It could be the time of day. That's a real thing. It's silly and absurd, but it could be the time of day that you're posting. So I'd say take the piece of advice from the top of this webinar and go back and look at when you posted it and the day you posted it. So maybe it's not the content and the words that you're writing. It could be the algorithm and when the people who follow you are using Instagram, right? Unfortunately, that's like a real thing that people tend to get on. They've started their day, they've logged in, they then went and got coffee and they're sitting down and they're scrolling Instagram or right after dinner before bed, or they put the kids to sleep. So go in and look at your metrics every now and then on Instagram because they change pretty rapidly, like once a week. Schedule a time on your calendar where you have like an hour of time and go in and like see when people are active, because it may not be your content, because your content's great and it's consistent. It just might be that you need to post at 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's great. I just followed you.
Thanks.
I kind of have a similar issue with like it's all or nothing.
Mhm.
Either it gets 10 likes or it gets 80 and there's no in between.
Yeah.
I was wondering, as far as like hashtags, I know that I was reading recently that you shouldn't reuse a lot of the same hashtags. Do you agree with that? Or because like I'm a digital artist, so I want to put digital artist. Is that something I should put in every post, or is that something that Instagram's not a fan of?
It changes all the time. I would say keep them to a minimum of like 5 to 10. I would always recommend reusing one hashtag. So I see in a post that their hashtag heart gallery is almost always in a post. You should do that. That's something I should have said. Those are super helpful for tracking your content. So do that, but do like a 5 to 10. And you shouldn't I guess the answer to the question should be you shouldn't reuse on every single post the same set of hashtags. So you should mix it up, but you should have a few that are like the same. Your business name, your name, whatever it is that it's called, make yourself a hashtag. It's so much easier to track your content later. But yeah, just don't make them all the same for every post. And you don't need 20. You need like 5 to 10. That's an insane amount of hashtags. Just make them appropriate for what it is. But yeah, don't just copy and paste for every single post, I think is a good rule of thumb. Did that answer your question? Tell me if I
Yeah,
did.
I try to make it different every time, but like
Yeah,
it is digital art. That's what it is. Like
right.
so that feels like a very appropriate hashtag, and I don't want to miss out
No,
on people looking for digital artists.
I'd say the same thing. Take that piece of advice and like go back and check in when you're posting and see if you're missing some opportunity to like make a daily schedule of my posts do well on this day at 2 o'clock, and that's when I should do it. Go back and compare the 80 likes to the fewer ones and see what the difference is. Really understand those metrics because it'll help you. I
All right,
know that
thank
when
you.
I get on like a schedule of things, it just makes it easier. You know what I mean? So if 2 o'clock is your time, 4 o'clock is your time on whatever day, just build that into your schedule. But yeah, I'd say use the hashtags that you need to use, especially when they're extremely appropriate. I've never gone over time in a webinar, and I love today. You are making my October birthday month the best month ever, and the last one is the best month ever. Does anyone else have any questions? Oh, can we share our Facebook names here to network? All right, sure.
Yeah, I'll keep the meeting going for maybe like 5 or 10 minutes afterwards, so you guys can add whatever. But I know folks have got to get to other places, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. But thank you so much, Colleen. Do you want to put your email address in the chat in case anybody wants to reach out to you?
Bam.
There we go. So thank you so much, Colleen, and appreciate you bringing up about Arts Build and us trying to achieve 100 new donors. It looks like it's going to be a reality. So hopefully we've got some folks on here who want to be one of those 100 new donors. We've got some great incentives in addition to the t-shirt if you donate $60 or more. So I included that link in the chat, but you can also go to artsbuild.com, and up in the top corner it says donate. So again, if you send $60 or more into us, you get that great new t-shirt. We've got both black and white. They're very colorful and fun. So, but anyway, enough about that. I'll go ahead and close this out. Thanks everybody for being here with us. Happy October. It's the spooky season. So, and happy early birthday to Colleen.
Oh dear.
And thank you so much for working with us. We really, really appreciate it. And we look forward to more from you in the future. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and mute myself, and I'll keep the chat up for just a little while. But Colleen, feel free to go ahead and log out because I know you've got another meeting to get to. So thanks a bunch, everybody.
Thank you.